I want to talk about a very sensitive topic, and that's the topic of STDs on cruise ship. Now, this particular topic is directed at the crew, not the passengers. All right, so this is for the crew, and I want to give you good advice, and I hope that this video will help at least one person. I'm a cruise ship doctor. I've worked on cruise ships for a number of years, and on every single cruise ship I've worked on, I've had to treat crew members and passengers with STDs. But like I said, the focus of this video is on crew members. Now, on every cruise ship, with every cruise line I've worked for, I've treated crew members with STDs. And, like most doctors, I would listen to you as part of my examination, history taking, examination, and then treatment. But then, I would add a preventative talk. Prevention is always better than cure. Prevention and education are very important. This is part of medicine. It's something that, every doctor should do. Now, initially, when I first started working on cruise ships, with every crew member, I would give an educational talk and a prevention talk. And then I realized one thing, that on more than one occasion, I would be taken to HR. I mean, not too often, to be fair, but I've had to go to HR, because a crew member, a patient, would report me to HR because of that preventative talk, that prevention talk, that educational talk about STDs. And so, over the years, it was at the beginning of my maritime career, on cruise ships, I would go to HR and then I'd get reported because a crew member would be offended. Sometimes a man, sometimes a woman. And at one point, I thought that, why should I stress myself about this? And why should I keep on going to HR and be reported about these things? Because, the more you get reported, especially on cruise ships, the more you get reported to HR, these reports, even though nothing has ever come out of that, it stays in your file. Learning from this, at one point, I decided that, I would never give any educational talk to any crew member, and I would never give any prevention talk about STDs. You come, I diagnose you with an STD, I treat you, goodbye. And then you do what you do with your life. Unless, of course, because you can gauge a conversation and the level of intelligence, both emotional intelligence and, intellectual intelligence of your patient. If you see that this is a person that's responsive to my message and wants to know more about what I'm talking about, then yes, I would say more, and then, I'll give them some positive information, educational information, prevention, and knowledge, so that, yes, they've got an STD now, but they're never going to get another STD. So you have to look at your patient and, from an emotional, psychological point of view, look at your patient and see. If your patient is a little bit combative, not happy to be there, doesn't seem to be responsive to your message, just drop it and don't get involved, just treat the disease, not the patient. Very sad thing to say. That goes about everything I was taught in medical school. But you know what? We live in a world where defensive medicine is also important. So anyway, let's talk about STDs on cruise ships. And here I want to talk specifically about HIV. Again, a topic that I would not really talk about on cruise ships with my patients because I don't want to go to HR, which is very sad. It saddened me that I even have to say that, the world has changed. In fact, even on land, I would not get involved, once you've got it's very sad, but, we live in a society where doctors can be sued for the slightest little thing. So at the end, I don't want to go to HR and be told that, but this doctor now was patronizing and pontificating on my sexual behavior. He's not my husband, he's not my partner, he's not my father. What right does he have to speak to me like that? And I said, no, but okay, so you know what? Yeah, that's the situation we live in, And so over the years, I decided to do less talking about prevention, education, all that stuff, If you need any education about any topic in general, especially when it comes to STD, I'll just print a fact sheet from up to date and hand it to you. So anyway, back on the topic of STDs on cruise ships, specifically talking about HIV. I have seen HIV positive crew members, and that will come as a shock to many crew members watching me right now. But the truth is, I have treated crew members who are HIV positive on every cruise ship I have ever worked on, and with every cruise line I've ever worked for. Every cruise ship of every cruise line I've ever been, I've dealt with crew members who are HIV positive and on board working. It might come as a shock to you because here's the thing. Many times I've heard crew members saying that, oh, you know what? Cruise ships are the safest environment in the world, the safest ecosystems in the world in terms of STDs, because everybody's been tested here and everybody's safe. It's the only environment, or one of the few environments in the world where every employee has been screened and tested for HIV. And like you working for a corporation somewhere, or working in a hotel somewhere, or wherever job you end up getting on land, you're not going to go for a job interview on land and then they're going to ask you to do an HIV test. No. If you take a job tomorrow to work in a hotel or a bank or a school or a hospital, nobody's going to ask you to produce a recent HIV test result. But on cruise ship, you have to produce your HIV results. And so crew members are under the false impression that because of that, cruise ships are STD-free, particularly HIV-free. Nothing could be further from the truth. Now, I don't know what's the incidence of HIV on cruise ships. I've never done a study on that, and that's because, there was no motivation for me to put myself through that, Go through a list of 1,000 or 1,500 or 1,700 crew members and start counting who's HIV positive, I've never had any interest in doing that, in running that kind of statistics. So I don't know the numbers, Also because I was put off by my repeated trips to HR after counseling people on STDs, So I lost interest in that over 10 years ago. But yes, HIV on cruise ships is a reality. Now, and this is very important, and this is what I want to say to all crew members working at sea right now, or future crew who are going to embark on a journey at sea, a very exciting journey. Yes, it's true that every crew member is tested for HIV. But number one, remember that you were tested for HIV, but nobody asked you to test for herpes, HPV, chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis. Although some crew members will ask you to have, to produce a negative syphilis test, whether it's a WR or RPR, and negative hepatitis tests, right? Some cruise line will do that. But most will only ask for your HIV results. And none of them will ask you to do an STD screen, meaning HPV, herpes, chlamydia, and all the others, So that's point number one. Yes, you might be HIV negative. Yes, your colleagues, your fellow crew members might be HIV negative, but nobody is being tested for anything else apart from hepatitis and syphilis on some cruise lines. And so you can still catch all the other STDs around. Some are less serious, but just uncomfortable and unsightly, like molluscum contagiosum, right? It's not debilitating, but it's something you want to deal with, right? HPV warts, it's not something you really want to carry. So that's point number one. You're only being tested for HIV and on some cruise lines, hepatitis and syphilis. Point number two, you are only going to be tested every 2 years for your medical. Your medical, your PME, your pre-employment medical examination is only every 2 years. And so yes, you've got a clean bill of health now, but in 2 years is a very long time. And if you are sexually active on board with multiple partners and you're part of the hookup culture on cruise ships, you go to crew bar, you pick a partner there, 2-3 weeks later, you break up, you get another partner, 2 weeks later, your partner leaves, you get another partner. If you're part of that hookup culture, then you would have gone through a lot of partners, a lot of sexual partners, and you are all only being tested every 2 years. you can catch anything in those 2 years. Anything. I've seen crew members who had a combo of multiple STDs all at once. So that's number 2. The test is only every 2 years. It's a long time. It's not like you're going to get tested every month. Number 3, talking about HIV. Yes, every crew member is being tested for HIV. And the majority of crew members are under the impression that because of that, it means that all of us on board are HIV negative. Nothing could be further from the truth. You being tested for HIV is not to exclude you or discriminate against you. It's to take the appropriate measure to make sure you do not fall sick while on your 4, 5, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months contract. And so people are HIV positive and they still come on board. And that's why I'm saying that with every cruise line I've worked for and on every cruise ship I have been on, I have seen in the medical center crew members who are HIV positive. Being HIV positive does not exclude you from working on a cruise ship. But if you are HIV positive on your pre-employment medical examination, then you will be asked to produce a CD4 count. If your CD4 count, so 2 things will happen. Number 1, you will need to provide your ARVs. Enough ARVs for the duration of your contract. So if you're on a 4-month contract, you must produce proof that you have enough ARVs, which are, by the way, antiretroviral drugs, for those who don't know. You must have enough of your ARVs for the duration of your contract. That's the requirement. Just like if you're diabetic, if you're epileptic on medication, if you're asthmatic, if you have any other chronic illness, if you're hypertensive, you must bring enough medication for the duration of your contract. Number 2, you must produce a CD4 count result above a certain level. And that test must be repeated every 6 months. So yes, you are HIV positive, you are on antiretroviral medication, but you must also produce a CD4 count test result. And your CD4 count must be above a certain level. I don't want to bore you with the details. It depends from cruise line to cruise lines, but most cruise lines will say that if you are HIV positive, they want your CD4 count to be above 500. Again, this is at the discretion of the cruise line. Some cruise line will say, no, we want it to be above 400. Some will say 500. So it depends. But the thinking process behind that is that if your CD4 count falls below 200, then you become quite immunosuppressed. And if you're going to board a ship on a 4 months or 6 months contract, with a CD4 count that is below 200, so you're already quite immunosuppressed. You are prone to infections. You are prone to getting all sorts of disease. When you have a CD4, when you're HIV positive and you have a CD4 count that is below 200, getting something like influenza or COVID or any disease puts you at a much bigger risk of ending up in ICU because your immune system is down. And so 200, below 200, usually we say that, not only you are HIV positive, but you now have AIDS. So 200, CD4 count of 200 is the limit. If you're between 200 and 350, it's still quite low. 400 is considered to be, it's better. And so you should be above 400. Some will say they want you to be above 500. Some will say they want you to be above 350. It depends. All right. And this is to say that even though you are HIV positive as a crew member, if your CD4 count is good, if you've got your antiretroviral medication, you are more than welcome to be on board, and you will be on board because cruise line cannot discriminate on the basis of being HIV positive. And that's why you have crew members on every cruise line, on every cruise ship that are HIV positive. And so stop thinking that, and I see that a lot, and I've seen that a lot. Young crew members come on board for the first time and they believe that, this is great here. Everybody's healthy, everybody's HIV negative, everybody's STD free. And so they engage in reckless sexual interactions. Multiple partners, hookup culture to the extreme sometimes, moving from partner to partner at worrisome speed. No. Please, be very careful on cruise ships. Protect yourself at all time. Take the same safety measures you would take on land. Use protection. There's no reason why you should use protection when you're on land, and then because you're coming on a cruise ship, stop using protection because you think that everybody's healthy, everybody's STD free. No. Take the same precautionary measures that you take on land on cruise ships. Now, in terms of protection. If you're a man, you're using condoms, or even if you're a woman, you're asking for your partner to use condoms. Condoms, as you know, will not protect you from everything. You can still get a number of things, even wearing a condom. You can still get molluscum contagiosum, you can still get HPV, you can still get herpes. There's a number of things you can still get. So my advice to you would be, first of all, prevention is always best. Don't engage in that hookup crew bar culture of having multiple partners at the same time and going through the carousel of changing partners some people are changing partners every cruise, which is quite amazing. Oh no, I'm with this person now, this is my partner, but he or she is leaving in about 2 weeks. And so when they leave the ship, you jump to another partner, and then maybe you're leaving in 2 weeks, so you go home, and then when you come back, you have another partner because you're on another ship. And then, look, I don't want to talk too much here because some things are just for the crew. Right? It's a part of ship life, and I don't want to divulge some of the secrets. But anyway, let's be honest with each other. I mean, look, when I talk about the hookup culture on cruise ship, it is well known that on the last day of the cruise, the day before debarkation and embarkation, there will usually be a big party in the crew bar. It's like a farewell party for all the crew members that are leaving. And usually it's when the crew bar is pumping the most. And usually that night, when all these crew members are leaving, people drink a little bit more than usual, they hook up, they have sex, and then in the morning, the crew member goes home, never to be seen again. It's like a one-night stand, uncomplicated. And then the next week, end of the cruise, maybe it's a 7-day cruise, so every 7 days, you understand where I'm going with this. And you could actually run through partners at an alarming rate. But enough said. And again, this is not something that happens this is not common, it is uncommon. This hookup culture, it's the minority of crew members who are adopting it. This has to be said. I don't want to give you the impression that, in the crew quarters are a land of debauchery and orgies and stuff. No. The greatest majority of crew members are just too busy and too tired to even go to the crew bar and drink and then, change sexual partners. And, no, it's a minority of people. But what's the demographic of those who do that? Usually, it's the youngest of crew members, first time on a cruise ship, first contract. They're completely wide-eyed about life at sea. It's a gigantic cruise ship, a mega ship. And everything is new. As a side note, I've treated a lot of STDs on ships, and I'm a very social person. I have to be, as a doctor, to break the ice and then speak. It's like everybody has to be comfortable speaking to me. Yeah, I'm a friendly guy. I socialize on board. I go to different restaurants. I go to different bars, usually passenger bars. I socialize. And I speak to a lot of crew, to all crew members. I make everybody feel comfortable. And I've had some young women, 20, 21, 22, telling me, look, they would tell me, I would ask, so many partners have you had? The one girl told me that, okay, I've been on board for 4 months, and so far she counted 17 partners, sexual partners. The other girl counted about 22 partners in a 6 months period. And they're all laughing and giggling. And I was telling them, these are extreme numbers. These are extreme numbers. Ladies, you need to wake up. 17, 22. Women twice your age on land do not even have that sort of body count. Come on. Please be careful. Be careful. So anyway, I hope that this is going to help somebody out there. My advice to you, because, we're talking about prevention, education, is when you find somebody on board, do not just assume that it's all good, it's all safe. No, take the same precautionary measures that you would take on land. You find somebody that you really like, you like each other, just test, just do an HIV test. Exactly like you would do on land, right? You meet somebody on land. When you decide to be sexually active, usually you both do an STD screen, right? It's normal. You do an HIV test, and whatever other test you needs to be done after you talk. Same thing on cruise ships, just do a test. I've had some few crew members coming to me in the medical center asking to do an HIV test, and I've never refused to do like a rapid HIV test for them. I've always been very happy to see crew members coming together, as a couple and said, hey, we want to test. And for me, it makes me so happy to see people responsible like that. And so I'll take one of our rapid HIV kits and I will just test. And wherever you are, on whatever cruise ship you are, I don't think that a cruise ship doctor will ever refuse to do a rapid HIV test for you. In fact, they'll be more than happy to see you being that responsible and taking control of your sexual health. Now, a rapid HIV test is not the same test you will get from a lab on land. It's not exactly an ELISA test or a PCR test. So, if you want to take it even a step further, do an STD panel. You're loving each other and you're using protection and stuff, and you want to take it to the next level, do an STD panel. There are STD clinics everywhere in the world. Next time your cruise ship arrives in a port, so let's say tomorrow your ship is going to arrive in Vancouver, just book an STD screen and have an STD screen done. Then you can have a herpes test, herpes, HPV, chlamydia, syphilis, HIV, and then for your peace of mind, and then, your sexual health, your relationship will be so much better, but, it's going to give you so much more pleasure. I hope this helps. Cheers. Now, if you want to hear more about cruise ship stories, please join me on Patreon, where I have lots of bonus videos that I do not post on YouTube. I also answer all questions on Patreon. There are no silly questions. You can ask me anything you want, and I will reply to you. I will give you some one-on-one advice as well. You can DM me. See you on Patreon.